I spent the first 3 months of 2019 researching, learning, and just figuring out as much as I possibly could. And this is my number one thing, the tactic I always tell people when they always ask me the how. Because when I think of how, I think people are asking me, like, what strategy did I take? What path to success did I go on to get to where I am today? And that number one thing for me was... This is episode 2 of The Odyssey. The Odyssey, for those of you that might be joining for the first time or are unfamiliar with it, is a video project which we're working on to basically bring you guys deeper into the behind the scenes of Atlas and take you on the journey with us. Ranging from where we've come from to where we're going, we're gonna document and showcase everything that we're doing so that you guys can see what we're up to. We can have a very transparent and clear relationship. On today's episode, we're going to be diving into the number one question which I get asked by everyone about my company. And that question is, you can probably even think of it, is how. It's how I started Atlas Innovative LLC. So in order to effectively understand the how, we need to dive into some background. In the summer of 2017, I was working nearly every day with my dad's business. And I would work every day so I could make enough money to fund my dance career, get bus fare to the city, and things of that nature. Now, I would then, for dance, I would be traveling across the United States, Europe, etc., all over the world. Through my travels, I would be going to different dance competitions where there would be seminars, groups, camps, and just a bunch of places where there would be a lot of athletes in one condensed location. And there, I would just be taking note in the back of my mind. I would see what they were wearing, what clothes they liked, what styles were trending. And it's basically, I was doing the same thing that you'd normally be doing like a business dev with actual data. And you would just be conducting business analysis of different trends and consumer data. And I was just doing that except being firsthand and being able to see for myself. Following this, unfortunately, as you guys know, I had to undergo my third surgery and therefore unable to be an athlete and attend all these camps and things of such nature. Now, with some money saved up, although it wasn't enough to start my own company, it was enough to get me off the feet and get me in the initial process of doing so. As a way to make more money, because obviously starting a business is not cheap, I'd also start selling candy and condoms in school. I was doing it since freshman year, but I really decided to take it up a notch and just see how much I could possibly sell in school and out of school, just, to make some more money for my company and for myself to fund everything I need to do. And I thought this was a pretty lucrative idea at the time because most high schoolers are too afraid to go to the store and buy them themselves, so they just ask me. And I'm familiar with this thing called Amazon, and I would just order it from there. Or just go to Walmart and just buy them right there and then just deliver to everybody that ordered them. And it worked for me. I made a couple $100s over the span of like a year or two. Now with enough money to start any initial funds for my company, the first thing I did was I had to research. Because I knew nothing about how to start a business. Obviously, I knew how to sell stuff, and I knew how to be creative and from that point of view and be an athlete, but I didn't know how to actually structure a business for success. Following my latest injury, I got very depressed and upset, and I felt alone. Going into January, since this injury happened on December 16th, I wanted to make sure that I would get my shit together, basically. And so that, for me, was just becoming productive and getting stuff done. Because I would just be laying in bed all day for like 16 hours a day the second I got home from school. So my New Year's resolution was to just start waking up every day at 4:30. And I did that. I spent the first 3 months of 2019 researching, learning, and just figuring out as much as I possibly could. And this is my number one thing, the tactic I always tell people when they always ask me the how. Because when I think of how, I think people are asking me, like, what strategy did I take? What path to success did I go on to get to where I am today? And that number one thing for me was YouTube. And that's what I did. I utilized that resource every single morning for 2 hours a day. School started at 6:30 for me, so I would spend from 4:30 to 6:30 literally just learning. I would grab a notebook and I would just learn, fill up as many pages as I possibly could with information about how to start a brand, how to grow on social media, how to start your own social media, and just how to gain business followers and how to create a movement. Once I spent 3 months learning after my surgery, and I recovered obviously because I wasn't in the best state to be working, after I recovered, I began to now decide to implement, because now is the point when I had enough money to buy a couple items but not everything I wanted, so it was just basically figuring out what I actually wanted to do and acting on it. And so what I did was I would go to people that I trusted and respected, and I would just throw my ideas off of them. Every morning on my drive to school, I would tell my dad everything I learned for that 2 hours prior. But obviously telling my dad about business analytics and trends and data and things that I'm predicting for future trends to start wasn't exactly easy. It wasn't an easy conversation to have first thing in the morning. it normally ended up with him reflecting my ideas and saying that no, they weren't good and that I needed to change them. And this was the best thing for me, because if I were to act on some of the crazy ideas I had in the early stages of planning, I would have failed so many times more than I already have. Therefore, another extremely important tactic to learn is that you need to be okay with failing and getting a no. Because I needed to make sure that my company would have been as sound as possible for when I was ready to launch. And if I had these terrible ideas, which they were terrible ideas at the time, then like I said, I would have failed and had many bad, and would have bad attributes relating to Atlas. And it took me a couple times to completely revamp my business ideas. But finally, after a couple times of revamping, restructuring, and reconfiguring everything I was thinking about, my dad said they gave me the okay, and sort of that like my ideas weren't too crazy. Because a 15-year-old boy talking about all these foreign ideas and crazy things just by reading off the internet obviously isn't the most structurally and functionally based thing. So now it's time to put the pedal to the metal and start acting on it. I knew everything I wanted to do, and now I sort of had a better understanding of how to do it, and now it was just time to work. I'm a Virgo, so I'm guilty of being a perfectionist and thinking too much, but now I figured out that if I wanted to launch by a certain date, I needed to put in this much work every single day and just keep it moving, keep working. And so that's what I did. And that is the early stages of how I started my company, Atlas Innovative. If it wasn't for consistent no's and consistent revamps and always learning and challenging myself to push my standards and what I thought was good, I would have never been able to get Atlas to this point where it is today. And even now, Atlas is totally beyond where I thought we could have been. So, if anything, the whole how isn't actually what you learn, but it's how you implement and take what you learn. In essence, the how of how I started Atlas Innovative is taking something which some may refer to as a passion project and backing it with action, business analytics, data and trends, and putting in the work to see what truly can work and what can't. And then you turn it into an international business with sales across the country, across the world, and multi-collections, and much more to come. Alright Atlas fam, this has been episode 2 of The Odyssey. If you enjoyed, let us know, and if you have any ideas or any questions that you'd like us to dive further into, let us know in the comment section of the DM. Like always, make sure you take action, and do so by any means necessary. And we'll see you with a brand new video on Friday.